Good afternoon, everybody. What's going on, everybody? Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. The economy continues to boom with gigantic economic numbers left and right as the market reaches a new all-time high today as well. Trump accounts are officially up and available on the website. If you have young kids, there's absolutely no reason why you should not be taking part in this. It's quite literally free money. Literally free money, whether or not you like Trump or not. This also comes as we are headed into what is going to be one of the biggest tax refunds, one of the biggest tax refund seasons in quite some time, as middle-class taxes continue to be cut with no taxes being charged on things like Social Security, helping out many of our seniors. The market is absolutely booming right now, and Democrats will not accept the fact that things are beginning to trickle down to the American people. As I've said numerous times, this administration has put a lot of their eggs in one basket on the one big beautiful bill. Finally, we may be seeing some economic numbers coming out to show the fruits of those labors. Very good stuff. Also, an absolute calamity in Congress today. Todd Lyons, the acting CBP chief, testified, and Democrats decided that they were going to put on a spectacle, as they naturally do. Of course, it was all smoke and mirrors, no real action. One Democratic lawmaker, who may be a convicted felon very soon, decided to ask Todd Lyons whether or not he was going to hell, because she's a real vile. I got to make sure I lower my volume when I say these things because idiots are watching. If you are one of those idiots, hi. Hi. Before we get started, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place, wherever it is you may be watching from. Let's pop that live chat up onto the screen today. We'll be rocking and rolling today. Oh, yeah, all good stuff all around. Let me move this around a little bit. Boom. There we go. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing? Big Tex, what's happening? Sophie, how are you? Deb, what's happening? Rico, Sophie, what's happening? Bad Moon, hello. Gina Marie, B. Palumbo, I hope everybody's having a good day today. If you're here in the Northeast, I hope you're enjoying the heat wave. I hope you're enjoying the heat wave we're having today. 34 degrees or so. We're having a tropical heat wave here in the Northeast. We're having a tropical heat wave here for all the new people watching. And I know there's a bunch. From today, I was on InfoWars with Brianna Morello. I'm going to be a regular on there, so very good. Very good. Very, very good. Good stuff all around. Good stuff all around. So let's dive right on in. We're going to start with the CBP stuff because a federal judge has just drop-kicked California in their attempt to get ICE officers to unmask. Now, of course, Democrats would not need to worry about ICE officers wearing masks if they weren't trying to kill them on a regular basis. This from the Post Millennial. A federal judge in California has blocked the state from enforcing a law in the state that prohibits ICE officers from wearing masks in the state. The irony of the entire thing is that Democrats were a huge fan of masks for no reason for the last, 6 years at this point? 7 years? Because that's how long COVID was ago. COVID started like 6.5 years ago, which is terrifying. Which is absolutely terrifying. Judge Christina Schneider of the District Court in Central California partially granted the motion for a preliminary injunction by the Trump administration blocking a portion of SB 627, known as the No Secret Police Act. They're not secret police. They're federal law enforcement. So I'm sure this law was written by Scott Wiener. I'm not sure. I'm just assuming because it's incredibly stupid. And, it's Scott Wiener. When he's not out there pushing communism or, trying to diddle kids, he's usually doing things to try to defund the police. Let's see. The bill was brought forth by State Senator Scott Wiener. Holy shit. That was totally by accident. I promise you, I had no idea who wrote this law. I just saw how dumb it was and assumed it had to be him. The section covered under the court order relates to masks worn by law enforcement. It states, quote, a law enforcement officer shall not wear a face covering that conceals, obstructs their facial identity in the performance of their duty, except as expressly authorized in the section. Face coverings are defined in the bill as an opaque mask, garment, helmet, headgear, or other item that conceals or obscures the facial identity of an individual, including but not limited to, of course, balaclava is mentioned first. Tactical mask, gator ski mask, or any type of face covering or face shielding item. So I guess sunglasses are off the table. I can't believe Scott Wiener actually wrote this. I'm actually kidding. I was actually joking when I said it. I think he's running for Senate. Or governor, maybe? I can't wait for that to get underway, whatever he's running for. Literally, I mean, look, there are some dumb ones out there, and we're going to show you one of the dumber ones in a second. Of course, that'd be Ayanna Pressley, who I'm not allowed to make fun of anymore. But Scott Wiener's up there, for sure. Fitting name. Judge Snyder wrote that while the Trump administration has not presented compelling evidence or any economic or operational burden from the enforcement of a facial covering prohibition or visible identification requirements for federal law enforcement officers, it's showing the facial covering prohibition likely violates the Supremacy Clause is nonetheless sufficient to establish that that enforcement of that provision would amount to imperative harm. Basically, what that means is that the state cannot tell federal law enforcement how they're allowed to dress. Of course, these are the things that really matter for people like Scott Wiener. Not, making the lives exceedingly better in their state. For example, obviously we know that California is in quite the financial hole. You have people leaving there at a faster rate than ever before. The only reason why they have moderate population, why it isn't worse, is because they keep importing illegal immigrants. But a little nugget came out over the last couple of days about the state of California and its finances and its taxation policy. I'm going to share this with all of you because it's one of those things that you have to listen to twice so that you can really grasp what happened here. The Seattle Seahawks have a quarterback named Sam Darnold. Now, if you are a Jets fan, you'll remember he used to be your quarterback until he decided to leave a team that is perpetually awful and go on and win a Super Bowl. That was for you, Sean. But he played in the Super Bowl and he won in the Super Bowl. Now, when you win the Super Bowl, you get a bonus. You get a bonus as the winning team. But if you are Sam Darnold and you make too much money, that bonus could put you in a weird predicament. A bit of an odd predicament. A predicament so strange that it turns out Seattle Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold actually lost money by winning the Super Bowl. That's right. Strap in for this one. Here is East Islip legend Boomer Esiason.
For winning the Super Bowl, the winning team, each player gets $178,000. In other words, the Super Bowl isn't a part of their salary. And because the game was played in California, and California has a jock tax, and they look at duty days, so each team spends 7 days in the state of California. So those are 7 duty days, and they pierce your regular salary at 3.5%. So he has to pay, when you take in account he got the $178,000 plus his overall salary, he has to pay the state of California for spending 7 days there $249,000.
That's just so stupid. I mean,
Yeah,
it really is.
but it ends up costing him $71,000 to go play in California. Now, if I'm the NFLPA, now you got to remember, it's probably even more than that because since he's in Seattle, he's playing, He's playing against San Francisco 49ers. That's another day he's there. And he's playing against the LA Rams. That's another day he's there. So he's probably had like 9 or 10 duty days, or maybe even more than that in the state of California. So if I'm the NFLPA, I'm like, hey, we're not playing any more Super Bowls in California. We're just not doing it.
That's right. You heard that correctly. Because what will normally happen in the NFL is you'll fly in on Saturday for a Sunday game. So you have one day in the state. But because for the Super Bowl, you got to go in like a week early, 10 days early, much earlier. You do the media days, and you do all the pre-Super Bowl festivities. Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl and lost nearly $100,000 because of the physical amount of time he was standing within the borders of the state of California. Now, I know many leftists are going to watch. He's a millionaire. He's not going to miss that. That's not the point. It cost him like $20,000 a day to exist in the state. He doesn't live there. He doesn't play for the team. He doesn't contribute to the state of California simply by walking across the border of Oregon into California. He's being charged nearly $20,000 a day. Right. We should definitely let Gavin Newsom run the country. Definitely. Now, once again, is he going to miss the money? Probably not. He gets to go to Disneyland for free. But it's just the principle of the fact that, and I want to be clear, Sam Darnold is just the one they highlighted. This happened to every player. Every player. One more time from Boomer.
For winning the Super Bowl, the winning team, each player gets $178,000. In other words, the Super Bowl isn't a part of their salary.
All right, so let's work this out. He gets an extra $178,000 for winning the Super Bowl.
And because the game was played in California, and California has a jock tax.
A jock tax, where they literally, and I mean this quite frankly, quite literally, they charge athletes who come on road trips to play in California.
And they look at duty days.
Duty days. So if the Mets go to L.A., they play 3 games. That's 3 days.
So each team spends 7 days in the state of California. So those are 7 duty days, and they pierce your regular salary.
So not only are they taxing his regular salary day to day at 3.5%, but they're also taxing his winnings
at 3.5%. So he has to pay, when you take in account he got the $178,000 plus his overall salary, he has to pay the state of California for spending 7 days there $249,000.
Yeah, just make it make sense mathematically. Shout out to Boomer Esiason, East Islip legend. Hey, wait, hold on. Does Boomer have one? Boomer Esiason Super Bowl. Did he win? Did he win a Super Bowl? I'm not sure. But another quarterback that played for the Jets and ended up in the Super Bowl. Shocker. Shocker. Just another day in the life of a Jet fan. That was for you, Sean, again. But let's listen to these people. Let's listen to these people when we're making policy that decides the world. We should definitely do that. We should also absolutely listen to some of these people. I showed you some of them on yesterday's show, but we've got to check in on the state of Minnesota, where all of the lunatics live, where apparently there is just some guy walking around with a little trolley and a plastic bin full of giant rubber penises, handing them out to the people of Minnesota. Why wouldn't we let these people run the country, everybody? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. To the people who are flinging rubber penises at ICE agents, I don't know. Guys, I can't imagine why we don't take you seriously. I can't figure it out, to be honest with you. I mean, who among us would not allow this guy with his... First off, I mean this. Why? Why does anyone at any time, for any reason, have that many dildos? I mean, is it an item you can buy in bulk? Like if you go to Costco or like BJ's? Maybe that wasn't the best one. But if you, let's stick with Costco. If you go to Costco, guys, can you buy these in bulk? I don't know. Let's see. Does anyone know the answer to this? Does anyone have any idea? Can you buy giant rubber penises in bulk? Is it like, can you get them on Alibaba or Temu? I'm not really sure. I can't imagine why we would not allow. Yeah, Sharon. Yeah, I said that. I didn't mean to, but it came out. I can't imagine why we wouldn't let these people run the Variety. All right, Script. Kit Kat, do me a favor. Look that up for me. Since you said you wouldn't, do me a favor. Just, throw that into Google and let me know what it does for your algorithm. But let's move on, because I had to find a way. I had to find a way to work that video in somehow. I just had to. I'm sorry. It's just I had to see it, so you guys do too. Also, I like the fact that it's on a little trolley. All good times. Guys, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. If you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmor.com/LFATV. That's tryarmor.com/LFATV. So, as I said, calamity ensued today inside the House of Representatives as Todd Lyons decided to sit down with the Homeland Security Committee. I can't imagine why this was even necessary, or whose idea it was to call him, to just let him get lambasted and give Democrats all of their fundraising opportunities. Can't imagine who did that, or why someone thought that would be a good idea. But Eric Swalwell, who can always be counted on to be the worst, to be one of the dumbest people on planet Earth, can always be counted on to grandstand.
Your staying on to lead ICE is a decision, and I've read your background. You have a decorated career. You've served in the military. You are what I would call otherwise employable. I think most people would agree this is not the only job that you can get. But since you've been on this job, women have been dragged by their hair through our streets. A 6-year-old child battling stage 4 cancer has been deported, and it turns out he was a U.S. citizen. People are running through the fields where they work. People who've gone to the streets as allies have been shot and publicly executed. It's a decision to stay on at this point. And considering your honorable service in the past and the dishonorable acts that those who have worked for you have conducted, and the disgraceful statements that the leadership above you have said, you now have a decision. Will you stand with the kids who you're supposed to protect, or will you side with the killers bringing terror to our streets? Mr. Lyons, will you resign from ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from
Gentlemen's
law enforcement.
time has expired.
You never should have gone
Gentlemen's
into
time
custody.
has expired.
Hey, that's right. Put him in his place. The reason why you had to show that ridiculous photo of that child being picked up by ICE is because his crappy father left him freezing in the street. And the reason why you couldn't bring him into the house is because his crappy mother wouldn't open the door for him. So what were they supposed to do? Leave the child in the frozen streets of Minnesota? That would have went over very well. But of course, Eric Swalwell can't really spend long enough with his head out of his ass to figure out exactly all of what is going on. Because it's all about the grandstanding. It's all about the show. It's all about putting it on for the cameras. And I'm happy that Todd Lyons actually fought back, because some Democrats out there were absolutely vile. Here's one from New Jersey whose name I don't know. I guess she's on her 14th minute of fame. But apparently she's under federal charges for attacking an ICE officer, which doesn't sound out of the realm for Democrats. Here she is asking Todd Lyons if he's going to enjoy hell.
Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course
Gentlelady,
not.
gentlelady.
How many
The
government...
gentlelady will suspend.
How
The gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you,
While
Chairman.
vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum and debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right? But let me continue on. I got your note.
All right, the gentlelady may resume.
Thank you so much.
It's very hard for me not to comment right now on what I could say, and not even about that member of Congress. Way to really be forceful, Chairman. Way to be forceful. Yeah, that's all I'm allowed to say. But yeah, so she's just asking questions, because since apparently her and I both say that word the same way. But yeah, that's where they're going with this. That's where they're trying. You think you're going to hell? Todd Lyons should have just told her right there. No, honey, we're not. We're not going to hell. But this is what the Democrats have gotten to. That's how desperate they are. That this is the lengths in which they will go. Why? Because they want to avoid any sort of notion of the real questions, like why Ilhan Omar is suddenly a millionaire, or why it is that Ayanna Pressley, whose husband spent a good amount of time in jail, now gets paid $1 million a year for consulting.
Where did you make all this income? From the rental property?
Sir, I submit a financial disclosure, just like everybody else. There's nothing to see here. Thank you.
Is it appropriate for members to make so much money when they're in office? Should there be rules there? Financial disclosure reports show that the wealth of Pressley and her husband Conan Harris swelled from $12,000 in 2019 to as much as $8 million. 5 rental properties earn them up to $350,000 annually. Pressley once advocated to suspend rent during the pandemic. She pushed policies for struggling homeowners.
These little to no cost bills help people remain housed.
Presley's husband is an ex-con who went from serving a decade in jail before they were married for drug trafficking to raking in up to $1 million a year as a business and management consultant.
There are many times where we can see that the spouse is the person who may be bringing in the most income.
Some lawmakers resist restrictions on outside earnings. Do you think that there should be changes, some different rules about what members can make while they're in office?
These are presumably right-wing reports designed to try to undermine our members, and there's nothing credible that has been suggested that I've seen.
But other members worry about their colleagues cashing in on congressional service.
The idea that people's net worth balloons at that level is yet another erosion of public trust.
There was one of the first aphorisms I learned is politics is the art of turning influence into affluence.
Now, the money also followed Presley's fellow squad member Ilhan Omar to come.
Now, first off, I don't know who that last guy was, but I had no idea what he was saying. No idea. Not even a little bit. But yeah, turns out each one of them are cashing in. Democrats have absolutely nothing to say. $1 million a year in consulting. Firstly, and I mean this, the word consulting might as well be called money funneling. Anyone who's ever met a consultant knows that they don't do shit. Let's just be honest here. I don't care who it is. I don't care how big the firm, how little the firm, whether you're at McKinsey Consultants. They don't do anything. Consulting. Absolute crap. Absolute crap. But you see the title of the show today. The economy continues to boom in a very serious way. And I'm liking every single bit of it, and you should too. Before we get to that, guys, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, as we said at the top of the show, the Trump accounts are officially open. And if you've got kids or you've got grandkids, you should be getting involved in this. Now, the funds work a little bit differently. You only get the $1,000 a month if you've had a newborn in the last year or over the course of the next 3 years. But if you have young people under the age of 18, you can begin investing in these accounts. So if you want to set one up for your grandchildren, if you want to set one up for your young kids that may have been born before the administration came in, you can do that. And there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't do it. If you just opened up the account, the compounding interest alone would be able to provide that young person with thousands of dollars when they reach the age of 18. Now, obviously, 20 years from now, $1,000 or $1,000 compounded will not be exactly what it is now, but it will certainly be a way of a good start. They want to buy a car. They want to go away after high school graduation. They want to put it towards their college. They can do anything they want. There's absolutely no reason to not take advantage of these tax advantage accounts that the president has set up for young people. So many people discuss this all the time about ending your life with a nest egg. But wouldn't it be a hell of a lot better if you could start your life with one? Here was Carolyn Levitt.
The White House is also pleased to share that parents across the country can now officially apply to open a Trump account for their child. In order to apply, parents can visit trumpaccounts.gov and fill out the IRS form 4547. These Trump accounts are special investment accounts aimed at providing American children with a jump start on building wealth for life. They have all the tax advantages as a traditional IRA account, but are specifically tailored to build wealth the moment a child is born. Thanks to President Trump, every child born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028 is eligible to receive $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury to fund their account. Parents, guardians, and even nonprofits can then contribute up to $5,000 per year. Employers can also contribute up to $2,500 per year per employee. President Trump believes there is no better investment than investing in our nation's children. If you are a parent who maximizes contributions to your child's Trump account, its projected value could reach nearly $1.1 million by the time your child turns 28 years old, based on average historical stock market returns. Safe to say, the Trump accounts will give a substantial head start to position the next generation for a brighter future.
And not only will it do that, but it'll also give a giant boost to the stock market, which is already at record highs. Record highs across the board. We spoke about it yesterday, how the Dow Jones Industrial Average reached 50,000, closed at 50,000 for the first time in history. We saw throughout the day today, reaching even more record highs. I think it is since, markets live. I think it has since dipped a little. No, the Dow, what is that? The Dow up 100. The NASDAQ down half a point. Up and down it goes. That's just what happens. But the market's continuing to finish near and over the top at all-time highs. There's no reason why you guys shouldn't be signing up for these. I mean, it's silly not to, particularly if you have a newborn in your life. Literally, it's a free $1,000 that they're going to forget about, you're going to forget about, and then you're going to get a letter in the mail in 20 years, and this kid's going to have a little bit of money in his pocket that without doing anything at all. TPH, my granddaughter just turned 1 year old. I wonder if she qualifies. If she was born after January 1st, 2024. I believe it is. Yes. 2025. January 1st, 2025. They do qualify for the free $1,000, but if you have any young person in your life, you can open the account and then just continue to add tax deductible or tax free, I should say, contributions as long as they're under the age of 18. It's basically a Roth IRA that you can set up for your kids and your grandkids. There's absolutely no reason to not get involved in that. And luckily, many of you, a lot of you, a whole bunch of you, particularly the seniors out there, should be expecting a gigantic tax rebate this year, a gigantic tax check coming in as we are beginning to see tax refunds coming in over the next couple of weeks. I'm sure you're all doing your taxes too. You can't wait to not have to send a check directly to Somali daycare owners. Here was Carolyn Levin.
We're already hearing from everyday Americans across the country who are reporting substantial tax savings thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut, which every single Democrat in Congress voted against. AMAC, which represents millions of Americans, has heard directly from more than their 1,000 members already about how the Trump tax cuts are easing cost of living concerns. I wanted to share a few of those powerful responses with you today. This one comes from Dean and Wendy in Wisconsin, who said, quote, instead of paying out $3,700 last year, we got back $2,500 in refunds this year. This is huge for our family. Steve from California said, quote, the new senior citizen deduction is a tremendous relief and has given us peace of mind and the freedom to truly enjoy the retirement years we worked so hard for. Eric from Nevada said, as a senior, no tax on Social Security helps me tremendously. The no tax on tips helps my daughter-in-law as a waitress. The no tax on overtime helps my son, who works constantly. Our family savings from the One Big Beautiful Bill could total even more than $5,000. We love the Trump tax cuts. These are just a few positive examples of the everyday Americans that President Trump's tax cuts are uplifting. We'd love to hear more from the American people across the country who are benefiting from the Working Families tax cuts.
And thank God they did it, because as I've said on the show before, I'll keep saying it, all the eggs are in the One Big Beautiful Bill. If you're a union worker out there, work as much overtime as you possibly can so that you don't get taxed on that overtime. And we're going to begin to see some sort of an economic boom coming. A more personalized economic boom, I would say. Because, look, the stock market is abstract. Yeah, your 401k is doing great. I'm 36 years old. So I'm really happy that the stock market is booming, but that's not really touching me in a serious way every single day. However, if I am an hourly worker, getting more money for my overtime is something that would absolutely impact me on a day-to-day level. Here's more economic data coming in.
3 big themes you'll hear us talk about, Bill. 1, tax cuts. President Trump and the Republicans brought the biggest working families tax cut in American history, and every Democrat in Congress voted against it. So people are starting to see record tax returns right now. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime pay, an increased standard deduction, which helps 90% of taxpayers. Every Democrat in Congress voted against all of those things. 2, as the president said, economic growth. Right now, the projection is 4.5% annualized economic growth. What you just saw this month, the numbers just came out from the Congressional Budget Office, are a 35% reduction in the federal deficit year over year, January to January for the same period. And that is because of our economic growth. And think about that. Under Joe Biden, it was going the opposite direction. And then third, President Trump is stopping big corporations from ripping off the American people. He's making them treat them fairly. So these are things like most favored nation. We're now we're having massive price cuts to prescription drugs. There was a Wall Street Journal article just last week that said for the first time they've ever seen, the prescription drug companies are cutting prices so that American consumers don't pay any more than consumers in foreign countries pay. The DOJ is investigating the big foreign-owned meatpacking companies, which have been fixing the price of beef potentially, which is why you see these prices so high at the grocery store. The president has rolled out a proposal to ban big institutions. These are big private equity funds from buying up American homes in the future and competing with the American people, average people that are trying to buy a home. He's rolled out a temporary 10% cap on credit card rates so that people don't pay these usurious rates he's talked about. So the president is cutting taxes, he's growing the economy, and he's bringing fairness to the American people so they're treated fairly by big corporations.
Okay.
And Democrats have fought that every step of the way.
Every step of the way. These economic booms could have happened a long time ago. As a matter of fact, as you heard them talking about capping the credit card interest rate payments, that would be one of the biggest things in the world they could do. Visa, MasterCard, and American Express have been sending lobbyist after lobbyist to Congress to try to stop this from happening. But I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for a company that makes 56% profit every single year like Visa does. They'll be okay. They'll be just fine. Don't want to make it 10%? All right, make it 15%. Because here's the dirty little secret about credit cards. Not everyone should have one. Not everyone should have a credit card. Not everyone should have the ability to have a line of credit of $20,000. Because when you max out that credit card, you become a slave to MasterCard. That isn't freedom. That's living in a debtor's prison, which we did away with quite some time ago. Not to mention the fact that there is clearly monopolistic standards on the way these credit card companies are able to operate, with something like more than 50% going directly to Visa and American Express and MasterCard being the top ones. I think out of the big four companies, they hold like something like 92% of the market share. I could have those exact numbers wrong, but they're somewhere in that range. They're somewhere in that nook. Something's got to be done about it. Something needs to be done quickly. If President Trump could jump on Bernie Sanders' bill about capping credit card payments, about capping credit card interest, I think that would be absolutely spectacular. And it would really shut down many of the people on the left who seem to think that everything Trump does is bad, no matter what it is. I would love to see them try to argue that him doing this is bad, even though it's been a left-wing populist idea for quite some time. We're going to move on because we do have a few more stories that I have to get to. a few more stories that we do have to get to. Before we do that, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on. You guys can pick up your Trump Miller Lite shirts, baby. Giddy up, let's go. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. So, let's talk about the thing that everyone seems to be talking about that won't go away no matter what we do. I want to be clear, if they're involved in this in any way, I hope they are thrown off of a bridge, and that is Jeffrey Epstein. Well, it turns out a whole new dump of documents just came out, and everyone and their mother is cycling through them right now, as I told you guys numerous times, many times, over and over and over, and over and over and over again, that a few hundred people would be named in these files. Almost all of them would have nothing to do with it. And anyone who was involved in any real sort of way, in any sort of real nefarious crimes that would be push-off bridgeable, you're only going to know like 4 of the names. You're only going to know like 4 of them. You're going to know Lex Wexner, and you're going to know Bill Clinton, and you're going to know, let's see, there was a couple more of them who I've already forgotten. That's how little I know about this. Let's see, Josie the redheaded libertarian had a list of some of the people that a list of some of the people who have been named in this. Hold on, let's see, Josie. She put up a list that Massey and Ro Khanna. There we go. Let's read this. Let's see if you guys know some of the names. You might know Salvatore Nuara, Zarab Mikaladaz, Leonid Leonov, Nicola Caputo, Sultan Ahmed bin Suleiman. Okay, that's actually somebody. He's the head of, he runs the port of Dubai. That's actually somebody. But guess what? You don't know who that is. Most of the people who did all of the bad stuff on that island, you've never heard of before. Everyone thought you were going to get all the nail. Tom Hanks. I don't think so. Eminem. Probably not. Ellen. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm having a giant orgy, I'm not inviting Ellen. Just going to, put that out there. Turns out, one name you did see in it was Donald Trump, but not in the way that Democrats wanted to, that Democrats were hoping for. Because Trump apparently thanked the police back in the 2000s for going after Jeffrey Epstein and warned that Ghislaine Maxwell might be one of the most evil people he's ever met in his entire life. President Trump allegedly called the Palm Beach, Florida Police Department in the mid-2000s to thank them for investigating Jeffrey Epstein while simultaneously warning them to stay focused on evil Ghislaine Maxwell, according to FBI documents recapping an interview with the local department's former chief. Trump called the Palm Beach Police, quote, Trump called the Palm Beach Police Department to tell him, thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone knows he's been doing this. Read an FBI document reviewed by Fox News Digital recounting an interview in 2019 with an interview from the former Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Reiter. When approached for comment, however, an official from the Department of Justice pushed back on Tuesday that the office, quote, would not be commenting on this. Here is that. Sorry about that. I don't know why the hell is the audio not playing? Sorry about that. Shit. Sorry about that. That's odd. That was a good clip, too. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Sorry about that, everybody. I know how much you guys were waiting for that. Sorry, I don't know why that audio didn't work. It was working 2 minutes ago. What the hell are you going to do? Sorry about that. Let's see here. Can I pull it up a different way? Give me 1 sec. Let's see here. Here we are. Here we go. Let me wait for the ad to finish playing. All right, here we go. I got it now. Just give me a minute and we'll figure that out. I don't know why that was incredibly odd. Give me 1 second and we'll pull up the Fox News clip discussing how President Trump thanked the Palm Beach Police Department for stopping Jeffrey Epstein after all of these years. Of course, the Democratic idiots on Twitter have conveniently found a way to not mention this in all of their mass reporting on Jeffrey Epstein that they finally started to notice about 2 minutes ago. Here was Brett Baier.
Relating to Jeffrey Epstein, containing new information about the late financier's inner circle. The files also bring to light new questions about who exactly was involved in the crimes. The tens of thousands of new documents also include new details about President Trump's former relationship with Epstein, but do not implicate him of any wrongdoing. Correspondent Alexandria Hoff has been digging through the files, tells us what's more about what's inside. Good evening, Alex.
Good evening, Brett. We've been digging since very early this morning, and this material relates to the criminal cases against Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. But of focus in this latest batch is who else is and who is not mentioned by name. According to a 2019 FBI email, there were 10 co-conspirators tied to the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case. Federal authorities have never publicly stated a fixed number or what evidence they had to list them. Just 2 names were left unredacted. Brunel, likely Jean-Luc Brunel, an Epstein associate who committed suicide in 2022, and Wexner, likely Leslie Wexner, the controversial former CEO of Victoria's Secret. No one other than Ghislaine Maxwell was ever federally charged for any crime directly tied to Epstein. Epstein victims and lawmakers have renewed demands to release those other names. Separately, among the nearly 40,000 newly released documents, a 2021 federal subpoena issued to former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago complex, seeking employment records as part of the Maxwell prosecution. Nowhere in the material is the president accused by the government of any criminal wrongdoing. A 2020 email from a U.S. attorney notes Trump flew on Epstein's plane at least 8 times between 1993 and 96, more than originally reported. The prosecutor wrote that on one occasion, Trump and Epstein flew alone with an unnamed 20-year-old woman.
They keep records of who are flying on airplanes, and so there's no getting around that.
As Democrat lawmakers seek more on the president's relationship with Epstein, the Justice Department warned in a statement today, quote, some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. And the FBI says a letter appearing to be from Jeffrey Epstein to convicted serial sexual abuser Larry Nassar is a fake. At one point it reads, our president also shares our love of young, nubile girls, apparently referring to Trump. According to the FBI, the handwriting, postmark date, and return address shows it could not have been produced by Epstein.
So it turns out every negative thing they have about President Trump in these documents is either fake or taken completely out of context, or just obviously fabricated. With Larry Nassar, which seems to be an odd one. That seems to be an odd person to throw in there. Not because of his predilections, because he doesn't really fit the mold for somebody that Jeffrey Epstein would have hung around with. He was into world leaders, and he was into financiers, and he was into people who had giant salaries. Larry Nassar is one of the worst people in America, but at the end of the day, he was just a trainer at Michigan State. Like, he wasn't like... I mean, you know, if you're looking at people who are doing things, you have Lex Wexner, who's the CEO of Victoria's Secret. You have Bill Clinton, who's the former president of the United States. You have that Sultan of Dubai, who ran the port who's literally in charge of the global ports in Dubai. And then you have what? The assistant athletic trainer at Michigan State? Yeah, one of those don't really fit together. One of them don't really fit together. But hey, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. However, we do have an FBI letter from the chief of the Palm Beach Police Department talking about how President Trump thanked him for getting rid of this guy because, quote, everyone knew what he was doing. So, yeah. All the Democrats tend to leave that out of their insane diatribe. Insane diatribe. More bad news. It turns out, spoiler alert, judges continue to be activists, this time in the state of Kentucky, where a young man in his, I think he's 20 years old, apparently kidnapped and raped somebody. Well, he went through the court proceedings. He was convicted, found guilty, was sentenced to 65 years in prison. But the judge didn't really think that sentence was appropriate. Did she think it was too low? Did she think that because he kidnapped and raped somebody that he should be hung from his toenails from a lamppost and have people casually walk by and punch him in the face until he dies? Did she think that? No, she didn't think that. She decided that, you know what, this sentence wasn't appropriate. Let's cut it in half. Why? Because it turns out he's a victim of society. That's right. Here comes the victim card.
But Judge Davis thought the jury's recommendation was too long. She feels he hasn't mentally matured yet and never had a real shot at getting any help early in life.
But if you were to come in here and instead of being hurt and angry, which is what this court hears, right, as a 20-year-old African-American male that has been, experienced this society, etc., and you would show that, yes, okay, this is the situation. This is who I am. I don't want to be this person anymore. I don't want to be in jail for forever.
Thompson repeatedly stated he did not care, not about his sentence, the victim, or her family. But Judge Davis emphasized she's the one that holds the pen, and regardless of what the media may think, she applies the law. To her, 65 years was an extremely long time. As she puts it, it's his whole life, one she doesn't believe should be spent entirely behind bars.
This court does not believe that Mr. Thompson, if given the resources that he can get while incarcerated, is beyond being rehabilitated.
That's right. That's right. The sentence was too low. The sentence was too low. So she decided to cut it in half. Because he's a victim of society. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But don't worry, you're not supposed to notice that. You're not supposed to notice that, because I got news for you, okay? 35 years in jail. He'll be out in 17-ish. 17, 20. I'm sure after being in jail for 20 years as a rapist, I'm sure he'll come out a much better person. Totally well-adjusted and, not violent or commit any crimes in any way, shape, or form. But you know what? We need some good news. We need some good news because despite the economic boom and the fact that we got to make fun of Eric Swalwell today was a bit doomy and gloomy. So let's get some good news. The good news is Nick Shirley is on the ground in California doing what Nick Shirley does best.
This guy is he's passed out right now. How do we know that he is still alive and that he doesn't need Narcan right now?
He's breathing. You see his chest rising? And it's going up and down, and his color's good. Now, if he's blue, he's not responsive, his color's gone, he'd be like a blue, gray, purple color, then you know he's overdosing. Okay. So the most important thing is to hit him with Narcan. Doesn't matter how much Narcan you give him. If you got 3 in here, give him all 3 and rescue breaths.
Okay, so what's in here? What's inside this bag?
Okay, so
this Narcan you inject into their nose and it brings them back to life.
Yes, sir, yeah.
While I was talking to the guy about Narcan, my friend Tommy was also talking to another guy in the cart about some other things, and I think you guys are all going to find this very strange what he received from the people on the cart.
We were talking to the people over there in the van, and they're giving out free stuff. They're giving out the Narcan to save people, and then they're also giving out needles. And what's the idea of giving out needles and the rubber bands?
This is so they could do the drugs without worrying about disease, so everyone gets a clean needle.
That's like, how many needles inside there? There's
27, 10 of them.
There's 10 needles inside of this bag right
You
here.
you get everything, the whole kit. You get the rubber band, you get the alcohol, you get the cotton swabs, but then this is what you actually put it in here and heat this up, and then they give you filtered water.
So they're literally they're literally giving the people here on the street what they need to keep doing drugs.
And it's funny because if you notice, like in your hand, you have the Narcan one, right? So they're giving you the drugs, the stuff to do the drugs, right? This, glass pipes, and then they're giving you the stuff to save your life, so you don't die, and then they give it to you every day. And look, I'm not even homeless. I just went up to the guy and said, hey, can I get a Narcan bag and can I get a drug bag? And the guy said, yeah, no questions asked, no, hey, don't do this, or can we get you some help? No, they're just offering you the drug bags to do the drugs. They're not offering you any kind of help or assistance or any kind of detoxing. They're just giving you the materials.
They're giving you the drugs
to do the drugs.
They're giving you the stuff you need to do the drug, and they're giving you the stuff that you need to revive your life after you do the drugs.
Think about how much money this costs for these packs to be given out daily to so many people, when that money could be going to other programs to help them. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, here, kill yourself, save yourself, kill yourself, save yourself. It's a cycle, and it's not fair to them. You know what I mean?
Now, idiots will say that the free needle program has drastically brought down HIV/AIDS, which it has. It definitely has. You know what else would help bring down HIV/AIDS? If people like Scott Wiener didn't change the law where you have to inform someone before you have sex with them if you are HIV positive, which that's a law that Scott Wiener had changed. I can't imagine why. Guys, it's 4 o'clock. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys head on over to lfatv.us. It's lfatv.us. That's the home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out the LFA TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFA TV. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. Guys, it's 4 o'clock. I will catch you all back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.